Alright, let's try this again. I forgot that my PC had to, monitor PC, whatever, had to be updated last night when I turned it off. So when I came back to OBS, I didn't have the audio connected or chosen. So that video I just posted, some of you probably won't have seen this or don't even know that it happened, but for the ones that did, I appreciate it. Thank you to Celeste for letting me know, because I would have left it up until someone had said something. A little irritated because I don't know, I just hate redoing videos. I just don't like saying the same thing over and over again. Obviously you guys don't know what I said, so it's not gonna seem like you guys, or like I'm repeating to you guys, but for me it's gonna feel like that. But nevertheless, this is what I plan to do today. This is what I plan to put out, so I'm going to still do that. Talking about the March Madness X factors of the first two seeds, the first two 1 seeds, UConn being most likely the number 1 overall seed, UCLA being the number 2 or the second number 1 seed. Gonna start with the UConn since they're overall number 1. I said in the other, I'm not even gonna say what I said in the other video because it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna try my best to repeat exactly what I said. If I don't, it doesn't matter to anybody else but me. There are multiple players on every team that can be looked at as players that are considered X factors. X factors can be different for anybody. X factors to me are players that are vital to a team's win or vital to a team getting to the places they want to be. It could be a star player. It could be a second option. It could be somebody off the bench. To me, it doesn't have to be someone that you're not expecting. To me, it's like, it could be like, if you get this, like, you're for sure gonna win. You get this, it's cherry on top. It is what it is. For me, the two players that I think for UConn are Ali Zabel and Kaylee Heckel. I'll start with Ali Zabel. She's averaging 8 points a game. I talked about the unselfishness of UConn as a team and as a program. She's shooting 43% from 3, 51% from the field. And she's one of those players that if she's on the court, you're not able to leave off of her. And that's really important to have, because Ashland State is a good shooter, yes, but teams have been more inclined to help off of her in past years. Teams are inclined to help off of KK in past years. Both of them are shooting 34 and 35% from 3 respectively, so it's not like they're not shooting well. It's just, if you have the option, that's who you would choose. And I think if you have someone like Ali Zabel out there, 40+% 3-point shooter, much like Sarah and AZ, it's hard to leave her open. She had a game, which the highlights are on TikTok, and I had them on YouTube Shorts, but someone copyrighted them saying that I stole their videos, which I didn't even get those highlights from those videos. So yeah, it's been a great last hour and a half for me, but we're gonna try to shift and get back to where we were. But I do think Ali Zabel, like, her ability to shoot and her ability to just be a weapon offensively is big, and she wasn't able to be that last year. I want to say she was out due to injury. I don't want to say for sure that she was out with injury, but I think she was. So she didn't get to play in the big games that they're gonna go, or that they're gonna end up playing in, and that they've played in so far. And she's played a key role this season, and I think her role in the coming weeks will only be bigger and bigger as the games get more important. Kaylee Heckel, she came from USC. She's also averaging, or not also, she's averaging 7 points a game, but she's shooting 38% from 3. But we all know, well, if you watch the games and you've seen Kaylee Heckel play the last 2 to 3 years, whether it be in high school in New York or with USC or UConn, she is a great driver, or great at driving to the rim. Makes really tough shots, which is also in the highlights, and then she's gonna push the pace. Like, UConn is already a team that pushes the pace. KK Arnold loves to push the pace. AZ Fudd pushes the pace. But when you have Kaylee Heckel is like, I don't say she's 1 speed, but she's about as close as you get to 1 speed. Just like, oh, she's in the game, go. Like, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it actually helps them, just create a different kind of chaos when she comes into the game. She's really active defensively. She's always trying to get In passing lanes, she's really, she's got good feet defensively. So when you have players like Ashlyn Shade and KK Arnold out there that are already really good with their feet and really good at getting in the passing lanes, obviously Sarah Strong and AZ Vardar as well, as they're two of the top defenders in the country. But when your backcourt is able to do that, and your starting backcourt, and then you can bring in a player in your backup, or that's a backup point guard, and can still do those things, is huge. And I think her being able to do that is going to be really key for them, especially in those games that we're projecting they get to. Obviously, we never know what's going to happen, but we're projecting they get to games like potentially a Texas or UCLA or South Carolina or LSU. Like, the guard play is going to be important no matter who they play, just because a lot of teams around the country have great guards. I think a couple years ago it was like, okay, there's a lot of great bigs, and now it's like, okay, like, a lot of teams are led by guard play. Like, a lot of teams do still have a dominant post player or a post player that they feature, but I think a lot of things go through guards now, which is kind of normal with the way that rest of basketball is gone, so it's not super surprising. But I will say, Kaylee Heckle, she wasn't able to, be in the big situations as much last year with USC. I think she started out and she was in those situations, and then as time went on, she got less and less minutes. Didn't understand it at the time, still don't, to be completely honest, but it doesn't matter because she's not there anymore. But I do think she is one of those players that has that big game ability. Like, she knows it's a big game, so she's going to step up. She's going to make plays. And I think that you need that, especially when you're at a UConn and there's always going to be pressure and expectations and all these different things that comes with just putting on the jersey. Then you have to go play in March, in April, and win. If you don't win, they're looking at you. You're not, are you supposed to be on this team? Are you worthy of being on this team? All these different things. I think she is made for this kind of program and made for this kind of team, and I think she's gonna leave her mark. Another thing that I talked about in the video that had no audio was next year there won't be AZ FUD. So this isn't, I don't want to say it's like a competition or anything like that, but both Allie Zabel and Kaylee Heckle would probably be hoping to be in the starting lineup next year, I would assume. So it's like, you want to put yourself in situations where you're like, okay, we can play we can play these three together, or we can play these three together. And I think even if, well, obviously one of them won't start, but even with one of them still coming off the bench, if they all decide to stay, is not a bad thing, because you're still playing a lot of minutes, especially when you play in Big East play. You're still getting a lot of minutes. It's just more so when you're playing and how you're affecting the team. And I think both players are very valuable to this team and bring a positive impact. So, yeah. And then we have UCLA. This is another team who I talked about where there could be multiple X factors. I think this is another situation where, like, it could be a second or third option. It could be somebody off the bench. It could be a starting point guard. It could be whoever. The first player, I think it is Gianna Neepkins. And not to say, and that's not because, like, oh, I think she's the best player or anything like that. It's just, this is why they brought her here. They brought her to UCLA for March, for April, for these situations, for these big games that they are projecting and hoping to play. There's a reason that UCLA and South Carolina were going so heavy for Gianna Neepkins. I think if South Carolina got Gianna, I think they would be the favorites to win the national title. So I think that's how valuable and how vital she is to a team wherever she is. And the way that Kiki Rice has played this year, after being injured in the preseason, the way that Gabriela Jaquez has stepped up offensively this year, and I think in past, like last year, Gabriela Jaquez was my X factor. I think the last 2 years, maybe. I think Gabriela Jaquez was my X factor last year, and I think Kiki Rice was my X factor the year before, just because I don't say the lack of consistency, but Kiki Rice was more volatile early in her career. Gabriela Jaquez was a great defender, and I still think the best, post passer, like passer to the post, that they have on their team, that they've had on their team for the last couple of years. But obviously, she wasn't the greatest shooter coming in, and she's continued to work on that. Now she's 41% shooter. Kiki Rice shooting 38%, 50% from the field. They're all, I don't want to say all 5 starters. They have 5 players that play 20 plus minutes shooting 50% or more from the field, and then you got Charlize who's shooting 47%, which I think is a career high for her if I'm not mistaken. So I think Gianna Neekins, just the way that her ability to shoot the ball, her ability to she doesn't need to have the ball in her hands and is able to still make plays and still able to have an impact on the game. And then when she does have the ball in her hands, almost always makes the right play. Like, I just feel like there's not many times where I see Gianna with the ball in her hands and I'm like, I don't like that player. I don't know why she did that. And anytime she shoots the ball, I feel like for most people you would think, when you see her shoot the ball, you think it's gonna go in. I mean, she's been, I don't know, probably like a 45% shooter for her career from the 3. Let me see, just real quick. She's a 43% shooter for 43% 3-point shooter for her career. The year that she broke her, I think it was her foot, she shot 54% from 3. Granted, that was only 8 games, but she shot 54. Last year she shot 45. This year she's shooting 44. The year before she got hurt, she shot 42. In her freshman season, she shot 38. So, and all of that is on good volume. For freshman year 4, sophomore year 5, junior year 6, senior year 7, and then this year she's shooting 5.4. So less than the last 2 years, but still great efficiency, and that's really all you can ask. And she's also shooting 95% from the free throw line. So if she ends the season with these numbers, she'll be 50, 40, 90. And I'd be shocked if she wasn't. I think her game is just catered, is just perfect for March. You just need players that can step up and make plays and make shots, timely shots, and I think that's exactly what she does. I think she did it with Utah, the year they made it to the Sweet 16. Actually got to see them play in person that year, so I do think she has, like, this. She knows that this is why she came to UCLA, like. And it's not to say, like, oh, she has to win. If she doesn't win, it's a failure, or she shouldn't have left Utah or anything like that. It's not at all what I'm saying. But, Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice, Gabriella Jaquez, Angela Dugalich, they've all been here for years, and they've been so close. And it's just like, they're right there. And I think the missing piece to all of that was Gianna Neekins. I think that's exactly why they brought her in. I think she's been that all season, and I think there's going to be games where they're going to need her, not necessarily to be best player, but to make the most shots or take the biggest shots and be able to make those shots. The second player, for me, is between Angela and Charlize, but I'm going to go with Angela just because she's like a 6th starter, and she's capable of doing so many different things on the floor. She's a post player that can shoot the 3, can create off the dribble, can shoot off the dribble, scores efficiently in the post, can guard 1 through 5 really, and she's probably the 3rd or 4th best pro prospect on the team. That's not disrespect to Kiki or Charlize, but I think when you look at the players that are projected to be pros or go to the WNBA potentially, Lauren is obviously the top one, but I would go Gianna and then Gabriella. And then after that, I think I would go Angela, just because of the things that she's able to do, the versatility on offense and defense, the size, the physicality, the athleticism, and the skill level. Like, I think, and she's played overseas, not like overseas, but she's played for her, national team and things like that. And I think those kinds of things are important when you're, going from the college to the pros. It's like there is still that big jump, but you've played with and played against some really high level talent, so it's not like you haven't seen anything like it before. And then I think there's going to be certain games where she's going to be a matchup problem, and I think she's a matchup problem for most games because you can't really guard her with a big player, you can't guard her with a smaller player, because she'll just use either one to her advantage. And I think that's another credit to her and to the team of, like, Angela, she understands, like, okay, I have the advantage here. This is what I'm going to try to do. and they never really force anything. Obviously, they want to get the ball to Lauren Betts and play out of that, but they never really force anything. And I think in past years they've been, there's been times where they get a little antsy and they just start, just taking shots that they don't really need to. And I think they all feel so confident and comfortable with each other that they don't really do that as much anymore. And obviously, when you only lose a few game or one game, it's easy to look and be like, oh, they didn't do this or they didn't do this season. And there were plenty of games where, or in conference play, that were close and they still had to, make plays, and they were in big time clutch situations and were able to come out on top. Now, obviously, it'll be different in a one game elimination scenario. Obviously, the pressure and everything that happens there is different. But I really think Angela and Gianna are like, if they win a national championship, those are the two players that you look at and like, those two players had like a huge, like, if Gianna Neekins didn't transfer to UCLA, I don't know if I picked them to win the national championship this year. I think they're still probably a top 5 team, but I don't think I picked them to be in the national championship game and potentially national championship winners. I think she's that piece that takes them that next step that some teams are just missing slightly. But yeah, I have the TikTok videos out. Hopefully the YouTube shorts that'll get situated. If not, we'll see what happens. I didn't post the UCLA one yet. I'll probably post that one now since this one is getting reposted. I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and let me know in the comments who you think are X factors for both of these teams and who you want to see me talk about before the tournament starts. Thanks.